Hey everybody, thank you for having us on tonight. I guess a little bit about me and the Center for Story-Based Strategy. We are a 13-year-old organization that was originally started in the middle of the second Bush term when propaganda by the powers that be was at an all-time high. It was crazy. It was during the weapons of mass destruction debacle that got us into Iraq. And at that time, the founders were like, wow, we are seriously losing the battle for hearts and minds around our issues. And how do we, as movement leftists, as social activists who are trying to be on the side of social change, really get back to our roots around story and learn how to talk with people around story and meaning? And so over the last 13 years, the organization has developed a methodology of a number of tools. So not only just look at, as an organizer, you look at political power and economic power. We talk about how to look at narrative power. Basically, what's the environment of ideas already moving around an issue we're trying to change? How do you understand the power that's moving as a way to intervene into that story? So that's just a little bit on what we do. And then probably something that is of note that everybody should know for full transparency is that Center for Story-Based Strategy and Movement Generation are sister organizations. We all have a shared politic around ecological justice. We see economy as the root of what is happening around a lot of social injustices that are happening today, and that if we can fix our relationship to the land and to each other, we can fix a lot of things in our society.
Just one of the main reasons that we invited Christine was around the Asians for Black Lives work that she's been a part of in the Bay. And in particular, we focused on the 5 lessons from the Oakland Police Department action. And so I think she's going to dive in a little bit to kind of those guiding principles and how folks in the Bay are engaging with solidarity organizing across communities of color, and in particular within a direct action setting. So I'll kick it to you, Christine.
Thanks, Sachi. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, so there's a lot. Maybe as transition just from what Quinton said. Thank you, Quinton. I kind of want to try to go to the permaculture course, but I know I'm not going to make it. And I know the slots are minimal. But no, really, just as a transition from Quinton stuff, I think one of the things that we try to get across, and as we talk about some of the Black Lives Matter stuff, is a lot of people are like, violence is a byproduct of the system that we're in right now, right, of the extractive dominant economy. But the reality is it's not just a byproduct, it's a requirement of the system. That when you take people's resources and you extract things from their land and their culture, the only way you can keep those people down and sedated to accept it is to actually enact state violence on them. And so I just want to be clear, like, that's something that a lot of folks talk about is, you know, oh, violence is a byproduct of this, or violence happens because of this. It's like, let's not get it twisted. Like, this system requires violence, and that's why you're going to see it. And so no, I believe in policy and Band-Aid solutions, but they're not going to help us in the long term, because if violence is built into the system, it is not going to change until you change the system. So I just wanted to get that out the way. And kind of is what I see as the connection between mine and Quinton's talks a little bit. And I think the only other thing I'll carry over, and I'm sure we'll catch more overlapping things, is this idea of we're fighting old stories around how we're actually supposed to fix the ecology and the environment. A lot of the conservation and preservation practices from like the John Muir days are like, oh, humans are so destructive, we should just go hands off, you know, everybody should just back up. And I think what Quinton is saying, and the thing that MG talks a lot about, is that actually we have to, at the rate that we have taken our hands to destroy the earth, we now have to be at a crazy rate to put our hands to restoring the earth. And that the solution now is not actually to back up and be like, oh, let's let the earth regenerate. It's like, no, we actually need to do the opposite of that and put some heavy lifting into doing that work. And so I just wanted to just touch on that and mention that, like, another principle we talk about in the MG, like CSS family, is this idea that what our hands do, our hearts learn. And one thing that to me has been a struggle around the Black Lives Matter moment is right now, and because it's hella real, like, we're in defense, right? We're just trying to keep our people alive. We are trying to do the things that feel really present. And I think what is so amazing about the MG work, about the Climate Justice Alliance work, and folks like Poder and Urban Till, is there is something that, and a lot of you, I see some photos here where people are like holding plants and stuff. There is something transformative and something that you cannot measure of when you put your hands to the earth, right? And that I think a lot of the hopelessness that people are feeling now, that healing work and that needs to happen around the trauma, I keep wondering if we're spending our time on, you got to do both, right? Defense and offense. But a lot of my worry right now is that if we solely engage in defense and direct action work, that's not actually what's going to get us that regenerated spirit. Like, a lot of our people need to heal by putting their hands to things that our hearts have so desperately wanted to relearn.